Today's topic is bootstrapping a POC. POC is a proof of concept. Okay, so we're gonna be speaking about how we are executing the solid goals in a POC production phase. So why listen to me? First of all, I introduce myself. I'm Artem Aklabin, founder of GameReady. Probably heard about GameReady. So I launched many POCs in my life, including GameReady. Had a POC, by the way, had proof of concept phase. We have worked with a lot of studio clients in GameReady as well, so I've helped launching a lot of the POCs for our studio clients, as well as over 50 software POCs that I've made throughout my life, and including Borzai.dog, a live startup which I am a co-founder of, a recent one, and even a physical product proof of concept. So that's my credentials. And I'll just quickly show you an example of a game POC that I made, I think 4 years ago or something like that. So just have a slight image of what is a game POC in our sense. Okay, so let's get going. I'm not gonna show all of it. Okay, I'll be posting the link to it after the meeting. But you guys, you can review that. I'm not gonna show all of it because it includes some violence moments. So that's just quickly. Yeah. Stopping here because it's gonna get a bit violent. You can watch it later if you're into that. Not too violent, by the way, but just minorly. Okay, so this is not a game. This is a POC. It's a proof of concept. This was done by me alone in 2 days by using assets, by using experience, by using proper research, proper tactics, okay? We're shortly gonna speak about what is a POC and why is that and all that stuff before we get to that. So, what we'll cover. First of all, what's a POC, right? Then, why do you even need a POC? How to do the research and how to define the scope for it. How to be executing it. So how do you actually develop it? What is the difference between a POC and an MVP? MVP is minimum viable product. Common mistakes. And what's later? What's next? What do we do after we launch the POC? Okay, what's POC? Okay. What's a POC? Proof of concept. Okay, this is the development stage, the first development stage, in which we want to present the viewer, hear me out, not a player, viewer, okay, about the concept we're gonna make a game about. A product, a game, a software piece, a physical product, it doesn't matter. With each project, we can have a proof of concept, and we typically should have a proof of concept, typically. So what's that? It's a super minimal version of the vision that you have. It's a short demonstration of what's next. It's a teaser. Think of it this way, okay? You'll understand it a bit better when I'll explain the difference between a POC and an MVP. So, why do we need a POC? By the way, MVP is slightly bigger than a POC. Okay, many people think that those are the same. Some don't know the difference. There is a difference. There's a pretty significant one even. Okay, but in a nutshell, just as a teaser, a POC is a very small one. An MVP is a bit more bloated. Okay? It's not so minimal. A POC is more minimal than the MVP. So, why do you need a POC? First of all, that's how we measure that the product is actually desired by the audience. So think of it this way. Who are you actually developing it for? Some people are gonna play your game, right? You wanna see if they are actually interested in what you have to offer. For example, if you make a game that is about your personal life, it will be interesting to you. It might not be interesting to the other players, or it might be. Maybe you have a very good story you want to tell from your life, sure. But you don't know. You want to measure it. You want to see if the product is actually desired by the target audience. Because think of it this way. What happens if you develop a full project, okay, you spend months or years on it, and then nobody just wants to play it? How do you avoid it? So you launch a POC, and it fails. You launch another one, it fails. You launch a third one, and suddenly you see that people are actually having a positive feedback about it. Okay? So then you know what's the project in which you actually want to invest your time and energy, potentially funds as well. Okay? We don't want to fail after years or months of development. We want to fail quickly, after 2, 3 days, 4 days. Yeah? The video I showed before with the POC that I made in 2 days. I'll break it down in the end of the session. I'll break it down a bit and I'll explain how I did it so fast, okay? So don't worry. It's completely possible to make a POC pretty fast. Okay, let's continue. So we want to also attract early team members. Okay, so with a POC, you actually prioritize having something to show. Because you prioritize something to show, you can, guess what? Show it to the people who are not just interested in your game when it will be out, but also to the developers, to the co-founders with whom you can actually develop this project, okay? Because if you don't have anything to show, hey, guess what? People will not really want to join it so much. The moment you have something visual, people are 2, 3, 4, 10 times more likely to join it. You know? That's a big thing to have. Next, that's also to build your portfolio. So even if the POC fails, you still can put it in your portfolio. That's the fun part about it. That even if you produce 3 POCs, and let's even assume that all 3 fail, do they really fail? They might fail in the desirability test, but they still go to your portfolio. See? So when you want to get hired, or when you want to bring in more team members, or whatever it is, you want to have some negotiations, and you will have negotiations. That's the career. We all have negotiations, right? Like, look, think of it this way. I didn't apply to a job for a decade or so, okay? I don't need a portfolio. But I just used the POC together with you in this session. I just showed it to you to display my credentials that I can actually bring in a POC to life. You see? That's life. That's negotiations. You're going to have negotiations all your life. It's going to be useful for you no matter what position you are and no matter what your goals are in one way or another. So, builds up your portfolio. There is no bad POC. You see? There's just good POCs and better POCs. The better POC passes the desirability test, right? Not as good POC might fail the desirability test, but it passes the portfolio test. Okay, next one. Yeah, that's also fun. It's just fun, okay? And this way you can explore your different ideas and let your creativity flow, and you see what you can actually produce that works for your goals as well as it is still fun for you, and you're not just developing because people want this game or that game about this and that, but I just don't enjoy it personally, you know? With a POC, you can actually gauge that. You can measure it. Spoiler, by the way. A POC is not for attracting investors. Investors are very rarely interested in investing into a POC. It's too early. Okay, we'll be speaking about it a bit later. Next, the research and scopes. So, you need to know your target audience, right? Remember, we spoke about the goals, right? The goal is to have to measure the interest, right? So to measure the interest, you still need to know who is the target audience you're building for. For example, in the video I showed, I said that it has some violence moments. Then obviously it is not for kids. Okay? So I will not make it for kids. Or if I would make a game for kids, then I would not put any violent moments there. You see? Yeah. So when you're choosing your target audience, it has a big impact on what you're actually gonna prioritize in the development of your POC. And in the game in general, by the way, right? Next, you need to know what they care about. Okay, so it's games. In games, people care about fun. That's pretty easy. If it's a POC of a different project, which is not a game, you need to care about, okay, you need to know, do they care about you solving some monetary problem for them? Okay, is there some pain they're experiencing? Like, for example, let's imagine a bottle of water. There's a pain point. The person's thirsty, wants to drink, right? The bottle solves it. That's what they care about. And for every product, and a game is a product. So for every product, there is something the target audience cares about. Okay? Keep that in mind. It may sound basic to you, by the way. Might be. But even if it's basic, that's basic because it's fundamental. It's super important. Okay? Don't underestimate the importance of those. You should be obsessed around those. Next, scope. Okay? Scope only what matters. Don't explode your scope with that feature and that feature and that feature and that feature. You should choose your scope very carefully. You should choose what is gonna be in the game and what's not gonna be in the game. Okay? The students here, the listeners who attended game jams, know very well what I'm talking about. Yeah? Don't have time. A POC is very similar to what you're doing in a game jam. A game jam is practically, that's a POC simulation of some sorts. Okay? Just a POC is a more logistical term. It's a more economical and business term. If you want to look at your game as a source of profit, something that will bring you money. And a game jam is typically just fun and portfolio and all the goodies, but not necessarily economically oriented. It can be something small, right? Without a very big importance, emphasis on target audience. Okay. So, next. Before we get to the next one, I just want to mention, if you include too many aspects to your initial scope of the POC, you will not have the ability to execute it fast enough. Okay. So each new feature you're including will increase the length of the duration of the development. The length of the development. Okay. A POC should be fast. Don't have time for bloating it up. And I'm going to speak about it in this section. So, execution. Ignore the picture for a second, okay? I promise you'll understand what it means. Okay, so, here I am. Okay? I'll make it easier for you. Look, execution principles, guys. First of all, it should be minimalistic. Okay? To keep it short, we need to choose something very basic But we wanna show off in our proof of concept. Okay. Maximalism goes next after that. After you get an investment, right? Or at least after the MVP was already tested. And again, we will speak about MVP a bit later. But POC, minimalism. Yeah, to break it down, focus on just 1 to 5 aspects. Preferably 1, 2, maybe 3. 5 is, you know, it's. What do I mean by that? You don't have time for 5 aspects, okay? And even if you do, let's imagine you do. Why? People will not play the game. It's not full enough. It's not fun yet. It's just a show off. It's something to view, okay? They don't have the time to invest in viewing or whatever, playing with your game, not playing your game, playing with your game to even see those 5 aspects or more than that, okay? If you have just 1, 2, 3 aspects, they will have enough attention span to actually see that and comment on it. You want to collect the feedback on your core ideas, core principles, okay? If we think about the demo game I showed to you before, okay? So, you actually didn't hear the sound there, by the way, okay? So, again, it's a bit of a horror scene. If you will want to look at it later, then sure. So, my focus there was, first of all, dark visuals, okay? So it should be horrifying, okay? Second one is sound design. It didn't have a game, but it has a heartbeat. It has a Geiger counter, which gives you vibes of radiation, okay? Of a radioactive level, okay? So that is the second aspect. So it's immersive, okay? I focused on really the aspect of immersion. I wanted it to be immersive. I don't want it to be fun. I wanted it to be immersive, to make an immersive POC. So that was actually the one big aspect. You can break it down to the visual immersion and to the sound immersion, okay? As a third gimmick, I just used a weapon from an original game, which I kind of modeled on. So it was a POC of achieving the atmosphere of an old game called Stalker. It's actually, there's Stalker 2 since then. It's already out. But back then, it wasn't, okay? So I wanted to replicate the atmosphere of that game in just a few days, okay? People liked it. They always said, like, hey, how did you make it in 2 days? What, 2 days? Like, I asked people, I was interested. I asked them, how much time do you think it took me to develop it? Okay, it ranged wildly. Okay, some people said, okay, let's say 2 weeks. Some said 3 years and 5 people. Okay, why is that? Because I didn't include there all the other aspects. I just included there the minimal things. Okay, I reduced it down to the basics, and I made the basics shine. So that's why it looks completed, even though it's super far from completed. It's nowhere near as completed as it looks in the demo. Okay. So, next. Everything else is trash. Yeah? Trash. Everything else is trash. So, what do I mean by that? You don't want to spend any energy perfecting anything. It should work bad. It should be working bad. If it doesn't work bad, you did a poor job in designing a POC. If it works, it's not a POC. It means that you deviated from the plan and you're already in the MVP or further away. it should be trash. And then you need to collect the feedback from the viewers, players, whatever it is. And then you continue and you untrash it. Okay? Next. You should find the shiny item in the pile of garbage. Yeah? That's our core aspects. Atmosphere or whatever it is. You need to find one shiny item and focus on it. Okay? People don't care about the garbage if you show them the coin. Okay, you just say, hey, look at that. It's a coin. You know? If they're interested in that, yeah, you can take this coin and you can design everything around it so it will be a good playable game. Next. Yeah, timeline is approximately 2 weeks or less, okay? So you don't want to get over 2 weeks with a POC. I'm speaking about one person, by the way. For 2 people, really, to be honest, the same. Because if it's 2 or 3 people, you start splitting the roles and you spend time on the communication, which is good long term. But for short term, bringing a teammate is actually going to slow you down. Unless you already had a plan ahead of time. So in a game jam, for example, you have a plan, you start executing it in the game jam duration. That's good, of course, sure. But in just a POC, when you want everything to be trash, and you want everything to be super, super, super fast. Did I say trash already? You want to keep it trashful. So, yeah, 2 weeks maximum. Better 2, 3, 4, 5 days. 1 day is probably not enough. And reuse assets, please. Use assets. Don't make the assets yourself at the POC, unless your product is actually the asset you're building. So if you're a 3D modeler, for example, 3D artist, then your POC is actually the base model that you're building. Okay? And even then, maybe use some available background, right? Reuse something. Don't make it all by yourself. People don't care about all the scene. They care about specifically the thing you want to present them with, right? Okay. POC versus MVP. Okay, look. To summarize it in one sentence, POC is interesting. MVP is fun. Kinda. Okay? Kind of fun. Potentially fun. So, MVP is when you get the first playtests. When playtests are even possible. Okay? That's your reality check. That's when your idea from the POC actually gets a ground for people to try it and give feedback. But not just feedback about the idea, but feedback about the implementation. So that's your reality check. Their feedback about your implementation. In the MVP, you also can start considering investors. Typically, it's still too early for investors, even in the MVP. Okay? In games, specifically in games. But yeah, you start thinking about investors. In the POC, you don't even have time to think about them, let alone to bring some. Okay. So, a bit of a summary, okay? So let's see. So POC tests one idea, one core idea, okay? 5 things should be shining. Everything else is trash, placeholders, which you will replace later on. Don't worry about making it perfect. You will have time to replace it. Timeline takes up to 2 weeks. Now MVP tests the product. Not the idea, the product. Core features must work.
Because if they don't, it's not unplayable. If it doesn't work, it's still a POC then. So it should be usable. Minimum viable product. It's viable. It's usable, right? Needs to be playable and understandable. Yeah. If it's not understandable, then people will not spend their energy and time to play it. They can just go download Fortnite for free and play Fortnite or something like that. They're kind of doing you a favor by playing your game right now. It's not you doing them the favor by giving them a free copy. They're doing you a favor because they're just better games for free. So, make the job easy for them. Make it easy for them to actually give you feedback. So you will receive the feedback because you need that feedback. And the timeline takes weeks to months. Not years, by the way. But also not 2 days. You can't make an MVP in 2 days. Now, in games, it's a bit hard to say that because sometimes your idea is playable from the first day. But is it playable comfortably? Okay. So it's a bit of a gray area, the POC and the MVP. What matters for me mostly here, that you take away from it, not that you need to categorize your game into a POC or MVP stage. That's not, it doesn't matter so much. What matters is the concepts, okay? We need to know the purpose of the POC and the purpose of the MVP. And we need to understand what aspects of the development are useful for what purposes. Okay? For example, if we want to test that people even like the idea, take the stuff from the POC list. Okay? If you already did that, and you want to see that you're actually capable of the execution, okay, that's your stuff. The MVP is your stuff now. Okay. In practice, you develop the POC before you get to the MVP stage. It doesn't matter if you categorize it this way or not. It doesn't matter if you think of it as a POC and MVP, you still develop it. You just don't know it. Start knowing it from now on and focus your energy on the core aspects of the development of the phase you're in. And this way you will eliminate for yourself waste of your time and work. Okay? Because if you don't focus your energy on the POC and you start developing everything together from day zero, you just make it interesting and playable and the shiny things and understandable, and you make it a long timeline. You add a lot of core features and small features and side quests, blah, blah, blah. Okay. The problem is that you're gonna discover your errors too late after you already spent all the time. That's a waste unless you're learning. So if your idea is to just learn, you're just studying, and this is your project on which you're training now, your goal is training, then it's fine. When you get to the production, to actually using it for your career, you should pay very, very high attention to those guys. Next. Common mistakes. Perfectionism. That's a big one. You remember I said everything else should be trash besides the core ideas we have. That's what I'm talking about, perfectionism. I'm a perfectionist naturally. I had to fight it a lot. And a lot of you guys, listeners, you also have or had the same problem. So, in the POC, it's not that you should be less perfectionist than you typically are. You should kill your perfectionism. It's not the time for perfectionism. You will have the time for it later. Now you should adopt a completely new state of mind in which you just say, hey, my perfect goal is to make it trash. That's my goal. It's my task. If you make it trash, that's perfect. For the reasons I already spoke about with you. Over-engineering. What's that? So, in the demo I showed you with the gun, I could make a class system with a lot of different guns and a system for reloading the gun and all that stuff, which is super, super important for a shooter game. Guess what? It doesn't matter for the POC. You can't reload the gun in that video I showed in the game. You can't reload the gun there. It has infinite ammo. Okay? It doesn't have a class of weapons with like shotguns, automatic rifles, pistols, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't have any of it. Okay? It's not even a system I created. I downloaded it from some asset, even though I'm a professional ballistics. I'm an expert in ballistics. I developed very hardcore gun systems before. It doesn't matter. No time for it. It's still faster to just get it from the asset packs. Okay, so I just got it from the asset packs. And the code there looks horrible. Okay, it's painful for me to watch the code there. But it doesn't matter. I'm not gonna fix it. It's not the purpose of the POC. You don't have time for it. You will be engineering later when you will be replacing your trash with valid assets. Okay? Then you can be engineering. Okay? Engineering, not over-engineering, by the way. Over-engineering is a problem in general. In the POC is just it's getting the damage is getting multiplied by tenfold. Next, not using free assets. Okay, that's a common mistake. Next, scope explosion. Spoke about it. That's a common mistake. Most of the people, the developers, are arriving at scope explosion. Complete majority. I would say 95% of them. Even if 99. Maybe 99 even. Even those who are better in managing the scope explosion, they still probably have some degree of scope explosion. Even I had in that project. And I'm super experienced in POCs. I learned my lessons from it though. Okay. So for example, I spent time on animation graph of the wolves. There are some wolves that are chasing, like mad dogs and stuff. Okay, I didn't show it in the slide, but yeah. So they are chasing you, all that stuff. So I worked on the animation graph so they could sit and howl and walk and run, all that stuff. Okay, and then I didn't use it. I couldn't show it in the POC, so it was a waste of time. I could do it in less than 2 days. I could do it in probably 1 day then. And there's some more stuff that I wasted my time on. Okay, there's some more. So even there, it still has scope explosion. Even 2 days for that demo, it still has scope explosion. So you see, I'm a senior too. Okay, learn from my mistake and learn from your mistakes. We don't need that. Next mistake, listening to pros. Okay, that's my favorite one. So, why? Because the so-called pros will always tell you, oh my god, you suck! Look at that! Look at that! Is it a game? It's not even playable. It looks so bad. What's that? Why is that so? Because they're obsessed on making their games look good. They are obsessed on scope explosion. They don't understand that, but they're focused on scope explosion, right? They are listening to other pros, quote unquote pros. They are not using free assets, they are developing it themselves. They're also using free assets, but a lot of stuff like, oh, I developed it. It's my system. Look at my system that I developed. You see that game? Not only that it looks good, I developed that system and this system and that system. Who cares? The players don't care about that. The players care about the game being fun and looking good. And all that stuff. Sounding good. Okay? But they're still obsessed over that. So it's flexing, okay? It's like, I'm strong. I'm smart. I'm a good developer. They're over-engineering and they're flexing on that. I made that system so big and it's compatible with that, and I don't need it. Hey, it's too early. Okay? Don't be listening to pros, okay? The game development pros are obsessed over making the game bloated. Okay? POC and MVP are concepts from business. If you want to look at games as a business, source of income, you need to stop listening to the developers, pros, the artists, the programmers, the level designers, who are not focusing on logistics and business. Only listen to pros that actually focus on logistics and business, because those are actually knowing how to prioritize correctly. Okay? You can speak with us in GameReady. We're pretty good at that. So, the next common mistake. Listening to family. Listening to mom. Because the mom will always say, oh my god, that's so cool, it's beautiful. Look at that, my daughter made that. My son made that. Wow! She will show it to all her friends and to the rest of the family. Maybe. But I mean, yeah, she loves you. But that's not objective. That's not a good feedback. It doesn't tell you anything. You're always the most beautiful person for your mother, for your family, okay? Sure, no problem. You're loved. That's not the goal of POC. You want to get roasted. You want to get feedback from people, okay? That they will say, hey, I hate everything about your game. Or I like this particular thing. Oh, it looks cool. How much time did it take you? Oh, it's not a lot. So you can actually make it into a good game. Like, I mean, it already looks cool. You know? Look at this one. Where was it? That one, right? A coin in a pile of trash. You want to get impression on this one. Yeah. Next. What's after POC? So, get audience feedback, right? According to the feedback you get, you choose. Either you pivot or you persevere. What does it mean? What does it mean? Pivoting is when you understand that you've made not a mistake, but a POC is not a mistake. A POC is a controlled mistake, okay? It will always be a mistake, but you control it. You want that mistake because you get information from it. So it's a good mistake. POC is a good mistake. So if you see that people didn't like a particular thing about your game, and you see that that's really the consensus, that's the feedback of most of your target audience. So you understand that, I made a mistake in my planning, in the design. So what should I be prioritizing instead? Maybe I should simplify it. Maybe I should change the theme. Did they say that the graphics are bad? Okay, will I be able to change the graphics? Whatever. Okay. Graphics are not so important for a POC, to be honest. Nah. What else? If people don't like your product, but suddenly you get good feedback from people who are not your target audience, though, or players that are not your target audience, then maybe switch your target audience. Maybe stay with the same idea, but switch your target audience and start optimizing for them. That's a big one. I'll give you an example. McDonald's. I love that one. McDonald's, they have released, I'm a developer, they have released their milkshake. Okay, who is the main target audience for milkshakes? What? Is it kids? Like, it's sweet, it's tasty, it's a milkshake. I want a milkshake. Who's the target audience? You know what? You know who are the main buyers for milkshakes in McDonald's? Truck drivers. That's truck drivers. Why? That's because the milkshake is pretty solid, so it doesn't spill around in the truck, unlike water or Coca-Cola. Okay? So it's viscous. That's one. Secondly, it's quick to get. They don't have time. It's easy to carry around. It's tasty. It's satiating you. Okay? Pretty good when you're hungry. Duh. No reason for them not to get it. But did McDonald's know about this? No. They didn't have a freaking clue about that. They discovered it post factum. So if McDonald's couldn't predict that, will you be able to? No. No. But the moment you understand that this target audience loves your product, that's when you should pivot. Okay. Persevere. What's persevere? Persevere is when you see that what you're doing resonates with the feedback. So you just keep doing that, okay? But you keep doing that straight. You don't deviate left or right. You just persevere. You go forward, okay? People tell you, I like this. And you make another change and they're like, it makes the product even better. And you're like, So they like when I add more weapons. I'll keep adding weapons. Like, yeah, more weapons. More weapons. Or whatever it is. Maybe you're adding levels into a game, okay? Let's say you have an adventure game. It has different scenes. Okay? So, people enjoy when you add new scenes. Keep adding them. Okay? But still, keep listening to the feedback. Maybe there are some pain points. If there are pain points, of course, you need to balance it out and focus on pain points as well. Okay? But, if people like it, and it's, let's say, a fantasy game, it's a fantasy adventure game, don't start putting their aliens. They didn't ask you for it. It's working. It's people like your changes about fantasy. Don't start remaking it into repurposing it into a sci-fi, into I don't know Egypt pyramids exploration, unless that's your game already and it works. Okay. Yeah. So. Pivot and persevere. Okay, pivot is when you need to adapt and change your ways. So if it's a car, you go left or right. That's pivoting. Perseverance is you go forward, and you ignore left and right. You go forward because you get the clues that that's the road. So just keep following it. It's so hard in practice to persevere because you are creative. You're a game developer. Game developers are creative. That's the reality about us. Okay? You want to go left and right. You want to add this and that and this and that. If you want to succeed and you want to release your game, you must keep your focus. Next. Obviously, after a POC, you move to MVP. By the way, the things I said about pivot and persevere, okay, that's not only about POC. It's about the development in general, right? Most of the things I said about it is about development in general, but in the POC specifically, you listen to that feedback, and according to that feedback, you might actually decide to completely rework your full game, which is just a POC. You didn't spend so much time on it. So you actually have the luxury to be able to completely rework it. Maybe it was a side scroll game and you just make it third person camera. And suddenly it's already so much of a different concept, but suddenly it fixes the problem people had with your game. Okay. Next. So after that, you move to the MVP after POC. Right after POC, you start developing the MVP after you get the confirmation and you get the data. So choose if you pivot or persevere. If you pivot, you make another POC. If you persevere, you continue to the MVP. So MVP is forward. Right after the POC, there's MVP. Next. Keep placeholders if needed. You don't have to start replacing everything. You can do that later. Okay? So because you still want to get confirmation in the MVP phase. MVP doesn't have to have everything self-made. If you need placeholders, keep them. Be it assets, be it trash code you wrote or trash 3D quick assets you made. It doesn't matter. Okay? Focus on what actually is important for your progress. Okay? If you have just 1 hour to work, how can you make your game how can you add as much progress to the development as possible in that 1 hour? How can you make it the most awesome it can be in 1 hour? You should be focusing on that, and typically it's not replacing the placeholders. Typically, okay? Yes, it's not ideal. Yes, you're gonna pay for it later because it's gonna be a bit harder to replace them. Each time it gets a bit harder, a bit harder, a bit harder. Yes, that's right. It's called technical debt, okay? You need to accept that because even though it sounds to you like, hey, I will save myself time in the future, in the long term, if I replace the placeholders now. Yes, that's right. But it's only if you're actually gonna continue with the project. Because if you're gonna drop the project, then it's a waste of time. Okay? And how do you know if you're gonna drop the project or not? That's by getting to the next stage. Okay? MVP. If you don't get to MVP, you don't know this. You don't know if you will continue or not. So on average, by prioritizing the current phase, which is the POC, MVP, you will make more POCs and MVPs in your life than the released games you'll make. Okay? It's not that you will make 5 POCs and then 5 games out of it. No. You'll make 5 POCs in 1 game, or 50 POCs in 1 game, or 2 POCs in 1 game, whatever. On average, it's going to save you time if you're going to keep the placeholders for the MVP phase as well. Build towards viability. So MVP, minimum viable product. Okay, so focus on it actually being a playable game. Capish? Yeah, visual example. Okay, so again, the same video, okay, and I'm gonna say a few things a few behind the scenes details, okay? So just so you're aware what's behind the scenes of that one, okay? So, first of all, that gun, asset. The level, asset. I didn't put a single tree here. It's all the scene is just an asset. I didn't even develop in that scene. I developed in the regular default scene of Unreal Engine. Okay, and then I just put it all in the cool scene. So, next, walking mechanics. Third person, is it? No, it was a first person template. It's just reused from the template. Okay, you see those arms? Yeah, those hands. This is also some asset pack of some third party character. Okay. Why did I use a third-party character in a first-person shooter game? So in the first-person shooter game, it should be just arms. You don't really need the legs, the body, the head. You don't need all that, okay? But there have been no options for kind of soldier arms to quickly get for free. I just grabbed the third-person guy, and guess what? He has legs, he has a head, all that stuff. But it will take a lot of time relatively to the POC. It will take a lot of time to actually put here animations of him actually crouching, looking down and up and all the stuff. So what did I do? I just snapped the body to the gun. So if you look down with the gun, your legs actually go up. Okay? So if let's imagine this is a guy, okay? And this is his arms. So he's looking here. If you look downwards, you're practically hovering. And if you look upwards, you're practically laying in the air. It's hilarious from the side, but you don't see that in the first person view. His legs might have been hovering all the time. You don't know that. You see? Who cares? Of course, you can't release a game like that. You'll need to rework all that, but it's trash. Practically, it's trash. For POC, that's completely acceptable. That's the right way to do it. Okay, next. Yeah, a bit of camera going from side to side that just snapped to his walking animation. Okay, so it's just camera on the head. I didn't need to program it. Okay, some sounds, I got some sounds. So I made the research. So I thought, okay, how do I make this? How do I make this atmosphere? So I ripped off this game. Okay, Stalker, right? So I just opened up some YouTube videos of the game. And I was like, okay, what people do like about this? So I got to the forums and I see, okay, so people like the atmosphere. What do they like about the atmosphere? And people say, oh, I like the ambient guitars. Oh, I like the light storming. I like the whatever it is, the horror atmosphere from the Geiger counter. I like this and this and that and that. The dog howling howls in the background, all those things, okay? The dark atmosphere, all this. So I said, okay, let's take those things that people enjoy the most about this game in the atmosphere, and I'll just make those things. That's what I did here. Okay. So there are some doggos, there's some shooting mechanics, blah, 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 whatever. Okay, just basic stuff from the system I downloaded. Okay, I think I made some transitions for aiming here, camera transitions, but I already had it from other projects, so I just reused that. I believe, I don't remember, it was 4 years ago. In the same time, I didn't have a health bar. I didn't want to make UI because UI will look bad. It will break the atmosphere. To make good UIs, you'll need to spend much more time. So I just said I will not make any UI. Okay, so UI should be either good or not exist. So for indicating the HP that the player has, I implemented a heartbeat sound. So it's like tutum, tutum, tutum. And when your HP is lower, your heartbeat goes faster. That ends. Okay, so it's a horror. It's easy to implement, super easy, just mathematical functions. Okay, when you know how to do that, it's super easy. It takes around a few minutes to implement. Okay, there's an indication. Actually, yeah, you have an HP system here. The player can lose and all that stuff. Yeah. Then the camera goes black. That's all that is the quick solutions to make. Okay? It's quick and it works. And it's not ugly. That matters. Because if here the POC is the atmosphere, I don't want the atmosphere to be ugly. So I don't put anything that will be temporarily ugly. Okay. Next. So let's see. Actually, we did finish now. So let's see the questions, first of all, in the chat, and then we'll go to the voice questions as well. Let's see. Okay. So, a question. I'm working on a simulator for guiding technicians in a certain field. The simulator should let them do a specific task that has several parts in it. The need is to let them see how failing in some of the parts can cause them a severe accident and thus learn the correct order and way to complete those parts. Okay. How would you decide which parts has to be in the POC? After all, they need to feel the failure and success feel. But what kind of POC will it be if they cannot get a feel of the way this to succeed or fail? Interesting. Okay, so here the main question, and thank you for the question, by the way. Here the main follow-up question is, who is the target audience? So are the target audience technicians who are gonna buy this game on Steam? Or is it companies who are gonna purchase this simulator for their employees? You know, that's already two completely different markets. Okay. The companies. Yeah. Yeah, okay, great. So I'll answer that in a moment, but I just want to emphasize a bit on the flow of thinking about it, okay? So you see what I did here? I asked who is the target audience, because according to the target audience, it will be a completely different story what you need to develop to make it appeal to them. Because private people, just people, they play a game for fun, curiosity, maybe some educational value. Okay. Now companies will purchase it for whatever reasons they have. So I need to think about their reason to play it. After you know the reason, you will understand what is your sales point. So if it's a company you develop it for, what's your goal? Is your goal to get a green light from them to fund a development of a bigger version of that POC? If that is your goal, you need to ask yourself, what do they care about? And before you ask yourself about that, maybe ask them. Maybe ask them, hey, what is currently the most painful part for you in that or that or that or that? They will tell you what they're missing. You take this one point that they are having the most problems with, or they want to emphasize on it the most, and you ideally build your POC around only that particular part, only the part that is most painful for them. And then they can continue with you to the other similar experiences. Okay? So for example, one of our studio clients right now, we are developing for them a simulator for their employees about safety measures in the workplace. They cared the most about fire safety, so firefighting. And we made a VR game for them, which is a simulator of specifically operating the equipment for firefighting. Okay, but it's not a POC because they already came to us and gave us the budget, and we already developed. It's already a paid project. We don't try to sell it to them. But obviously, we want the project to be good and useful and usable, so that they will continue to the next levels and they will implement the rest of the game. So not only the first stage, right? So they really want the MVP. They don't want the POC. They want the MVP. Okay, so is a POC useless here then? Not quite, because you want their feedback. They're your client. It means that they are literally your target audience, okay, because they pay for the project. Your target audience may be your investors. Maybe your investors care about their target audience, but you should care about the investor needs, okay? Which might actually be chaining to the end user still. So if you care about what your investor wants, but your investor cares about what those people want, you indirectly need to care about what those people want, because that's how you make your investors satisfied, right? So same here. What could you reduce without really damaging the project so much? If the answer is none, like absolutely all the features you have there are absolutely necessary for the end result, then it's part of your MVP. Because MVP, that's not small viable product. Okay? It's minimal viable product. It means that everything that is viable, everything that is necessary for the whole experience to work, that's minimal. Minimal is having the necessities without the extra. Okay, so do you have extra that you can reduce? If you have extras, yeah, maybe don't focus on them. Maybe disable them temporarily. Maybe, if it's already implemented but it doesn't work so well, or it makes it harder to maintain the other stuff, maybe temporarily disable it. And you can tell to your client, hey, like, it's there. We are gonna re-enable it later on, but now to make the product better, we can temporarily disable it. Focus on what is more important, so we keep the speed and we are following the budget, and then you can re-enable it later. I actually did it with Borzai, with the startup. It's an agentic AI startup. So we have developed there around 30 or so features, and not in the POC, already in the MVP stage. So it's already 30 or so features, and we tested and we saw that around 10 features are not that useful, but they take time from us on maintenance and development, which is better spent on the other 20. So we just temporarily disable them. Like on the website, you can see coming soon, coming soon, coming soon, coming soon. We just disabled around 40% of our UI. It's already implemented. But we said, hey, not now. Bam. Disabled. You tell them what you just told me. You tell them that, hey, are you sure that this is the important thing for you right now? I mean, we always will have time for that later. But is it now the most important thing? Because if it is, I'm working on it. Sure. Because if it's not, then screw it. But you need to tell it to them. Like, be transparent with them. You're their partner. You're the supplier. Just be transparent with them. Don't try to find ways on like cutting the work here so much. Just tell them, hey, it will take a lot of effort. I'm ready to do that effort. I just think that it might hinder the progress of your project. So, are you sure that you want me to implement this? My recommendation is not to implement it right now and push it to the next phase. If you still want to go with it, sure, I'm all yours. Because, I mean, they pay you. Right? If they want to pay, it's their decision. You're the supplier, they're the client. Okay? Your moral obligation, well, not obligation, I mean, this is just my approach. With our studio clients, we always are transparent with them, and we tell them, hey, look, that's our recommendation. You're deciding, you're the client, you decide, but that's our recommendation, and here's why. We do want them to succeed, because if they succeed, we succeed indirectly by that. So we obviously want to convince them on the recommendation if we believe that it will be good for them long term. But it's not always a given. Sometimes you just cannot convince them. This is fine. You let them learn from it. So, it's not about telling, hey, I told you. Told you it's gonna be hard. You see, took a lot of budget from you. People don't care about it. Told you. It's not about ego. It's just that they will see that your recommendation was right. They will treat your recommendation better the next time. So you raise your credentials this way. So as long as you're transparent, you're better off. You're either gonna make them listen to your recommendation, which you believe is good for you and for them, which is good, probably. Or you're going to have better negotiations with them next time. And you know what's the fun point about that? That it's also easy to do. I mean, you don't need to lie to them. You're just being open. Friendly, open. That's how partnership works. It works. I love it. It works. We do it for so many years. Just ask them. Don't be afraid of that. If you're a developer for the company, even if they don't pay you for consultation, if they don't want you as a consultant, offering this free recommendations, just telling, hey, I recommend this and this, that's why. Why not? It's going to be good for you in the long run.